I think it's safe to say, as NRL fans, not even NRL fans, just sport fans in general, I think we love to make predictions. I'm obviously no different. I've made a lot of predictions on this channel. Some good, some bad, some absolutely awful. Actually, most of them just awful. Now, we're 20 weeks into the 2019 NRL season, and I thought it'd be fun to go through and make some predictions for the rest of the season. To do so, I'm going to be using the NRL ladder predictor. I've got it loaded up on my phone, and basically what we're going to do is go through every single game and come up with a scoreline for everything and just see what the ladder says at the end of it. So you can see on the screen here is the ladder as of round 20. The Storm on top. You can see the top 8 is the Melbourne Storm, Sydney Roosters, Canberra Raiders, South Sydney Rabbitohs, Manly Seagulls, Parramatta Eels, Cronulla Sharks, and the West Tigers. So the top 8 is definitely not set in stone. The top 4, I'd say the top 2 are definitely set in stone. I think Storm and Roosters, I think they're going to be there. Raiders looking pretty good. Rabbitohs a little bit shaky at the moment. They've got a tough run home, but Manly are definitely a smoky to get in that top 4. I'd say the Eels probably aren't a chance. In fact, the rest of the top 8, I think it can sort of go any way. I mean, Sharks and Tigers can definitely fall out. They haven't been playing too well towards the back end of the season. Panthers obviously just lost to the Bulldogs. They are not playing very well themselves. Broncos are so hot and cold. Knights hot and cold. Warriors very hot and cold. There's a lot of things that could happen. Well, I'll be interested to see how I'm going to predict this ladder, considering this is what the ladder is at the moment. The Titans, they're in at 16th. I think they're going to get the wooden spoon. I'm not sure how much is going to change towards the back end of the ladder, but yeah, I'm interested to see what this ladder is going to look like, especially the top 8. So I've got the ladder predictor all loaded up. It starts off with round 21 here. Going to go through all the games. So first game is Cowboys and the Broncos. It's at 1300 Smile Stadium. I'm actually going to go the Cowboys for them. Margin. I can pick a margin here. I'm going to say Cowboys by 8. Cowboys by 8. That works. We have the Warriors and Seagulls. I think Manly will get that one done. I think there's no option for 10 points. I'm going to say 4 points. I'm going to say 4 points to Manly. That's going to be a tough game though in New Zealand. Panthers and the Sharks. This is a very tough one. A lot on the line here. Panthers pretty terrible last week. Will they bounce back? I'm going to say no. I think the Sharks will get this one. I think it will be... I'm going to leave it. A 12-point margin there. Dragons and Titans, 14 up against 16. I think the Dragons will win this one quite comfortably. I think they'll win. Yeah, let's leave it 12. I think that's a pretty good margin. The Eels and the Knights. This is a tough one as well. I wouldn't be surprised if the Knights come out and put on a bit of a show here. Is that Bankwest though? Oh, actually, is that Bankwest? I'm going to change that to the Eels. Eels are very good at Bankwest. I'm going to leave that at 12 as well. Now we move on to my Bulldogs up against the Tigers, 15th versus 8. Surprisingly, the Bulldogs actually won the last encounter. This is one of those games where the Tigers, I think they're susceptible to losing this one. Bulldogs haven't been playing that bad. Is that A and Z? I'm going to go the Bulldogs here. A bit of bias there, but I think the Bulldogs can definitely pull this one off. So I'm going to say the Bulldogs by 4. Bulldogs by 4. I think it'll be a tight one. So there we go for that one. Raiders, Roosters. This is another tough one. I love this Raiders side. The Roosters very, very good though. If Roosters play to like their best ability, they'll shit it in. They'll smash the Raiders. But the Raiders definitely capable of pulling this one out. I'm just going to say the Roosters. I think it's the safe bet. We'll go Roosters there. And I'll go by 8 points. Then we have Rabbitohs versus Storm. This is a pretty juicy encounter. However, Sam Burgess not playing. Actually, I think Sam Burgess is playing. I think he got off. Can't believe that. But Rabbitohs haven't been in great form. And Storm, they're just very, very good. They're very, very good. It's at the Central Coast, so no home field advantage for the Rabbitohs. I'm going to go Storm. I'm going to go Storm by 2 points there. I think it'll be a tight one. So, there's a ladder predictor. Has anything really changed? Not that I can see straight up. Top 8. Does top 8 stay the same? Yeah, top 8 looks like it stays the same. Let's move on to round 22. So the first game is on Thursday. We have the Seagulls up against the Tigers. I think Manly will win this one. Not looking good for the Tigers so far. I've given them 2 losses to start off this. I'm going to say Manly by 8. Move on to Titans up against the Eels. I think the Eels will win this one. Although this is the sort of game the Eels would lose against the Titans. It should be an easy one for them, but they'll probably struggle with this one, to be honest with you. But I'm going to go the Eels. I'll go them by 18. The Titans just aren't good. We have the Broncos up against Panthers, 10th up against 9th. This is a pretty juicy clash here, a lot to play for. I'm going to go Broncos because it's at home, purely just because of that. I'll go Broncos by 12. Moving on to the Knights and the Cowboys. Another one with a little bit to play for, in particular for the Knights, not really for the Cowboys, but it's in Newcastle. For that reason, I'm going to go Newcastle. Cowboys, they're not necessarily the best travellers, and the Knights, they'll have a lot to play for, like I said, looking to make the top 8. Anything apart from the top 8 is a failure for me for the Knights this year, especially a lot of people talking them up as top 4 contenders, and the fact that they find themselves not in the 8 at this point, very disappointing. But I'm going to go for them, I'm going to go a 4-point margin. Storm up against Raiders. 2 tough games in a row for both these sides. Obviously, Raiders versed the Roosters the previous week. I took the Roosters. Storm, I took them over the Rabbitohs. Once again, I'm going to take the Storm here. Storm just so hard to tip against them. I know Raiders have been so good this year, but apparently up against top 4 sides, they haven't done too well. So I'm going to go Storm for this. I'm going to go Storm by 8. I think it would be a pretty close game. Sucks, weird that there's no like 6-point margin, but whatever. Rabbitohs up against the Bulldogs. I think the Rabbitohs will win this one. I think they'll win comfortably. I think they'll win by, let's go 18. I feel like this is the sort of game the Rabbitohs will blow the Bulldogs away. Moving on to the Roosters and Warriors. I think Roosters will win this one pretty comfortably. 12 points, sounds about right. It's at home. The SCG. Warriors, not great travellers, so yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with that. And then we have the Sharks and the Dragons, which, looking at the where they are on the ladder, you would think this would be a pretty easy one, but the Dragons definitely can put it on if they show up, if all the players are fully fit, and Sharks haven't been in great form. So I am tempted to take the Dragons here, but I'm just going to play it safe, and I'm going to go with the Sharkies here. I'll go the Sharks by 12. Maybe Feeder or someone will have a big game if he's not suspended. Actually, let's take a look at the ladder now. So Manly, I've got them moving into the top 4 with Raiders losing 2 in a row here. Manly actually have a pretty decent run home from memory. But yeah, I mean, everything else kind of looks the same. Actually, no. I have the Tigers dropping out of the 8. And the Broncos moving in so far. And we see here, Bulldogs still got a pretty decent lead on the Titans at this point. So it looks like Titans are getting the wooden spoon. Let's move on to round 23. So the first game of the round is the Eels taking on the Bulldogs. I think the Eels will win this one. I think the Eels will do this one pretty comfortably. Eels have the wood over the Bulldogs as of late. I think the Eels will win this one by, I think it'll be a close one. Bulldogs don't get blown away too often, but you know what? Actually, 12 points. Let's leave it at 12 points. Cowboys and Panthers. This is another tough one, but it is a home game for the Cowboys. I'm going to pick the Cowboys here. Cowboys, I'm picking them to win quite a lot coming home here. I think Taumalo will be too strong for the Panthers. Kick-out, Taumalo should be a good little battle there. But I'm going to go Cowboys. I'm going to go Cowboys by, let's leave it at 12. Broncos and Rabbitohs. This should be a really good clash. Seabold up against, well, obviously both coaches up against their old team. I can't remember who won the last time they played, if they have even played this year. But it should be a pretty good game. 3rd up against 8 at this point for me. I don't know. I'm going to go Broncos because I think at home, I don't know. I really don't know. No, let's go Rabbitohs. Rabbitohs. I think Adam Reynolds will control this one. Have a little bit too much control. We'll go Rabbitohs by 8. Moving on to the Sharks and the Warriors. Sharks in 7th, Warriors in 13th. Dropped off quite a bit in my ladder prediction here. But the Sharks, they're playing at home. Warriors, like I've said a fair few times now, not great travellers. Sharkies are a lot better when they play at home. So I'm going to have to go the Sharks, and I'll go the Sharks by 12. I think that's a pretty safe bet. Actually, I probably should select it there. There we go. Sharks by 12. Tigers up against the Knights, 10th versus 9th. Tigers looking to bounce back after dropping out of the 8 for me. I think they'll do it. It's a home game for them. Knights are so inconsistent. I picked them to win last week. I think they'll drop off and lose this one. So I'll go the Tigers by 12. Tigers moving into the 8 there. Also a big motivator for the Tigers. So we have the Dragons up against Roosters. Roosters should win this one quite comfortably. Home game for the Dragons, but nothing to really play for them. Roosters everything to play for, trying to maintain their spot in the top 4, push for a minor premiership as well. So I'll go Roosters by 12. I think Dragons will have enough. They'll have enough in them to stay with them for a while. But yeah, 12 points seems like a good margin. Then we have Storm and the Titans. Now, a few weeks ago, they did play each other. Storm won pretty comfortably, but Titans had a really good start. They got chased down very, very easily, and that was in the Gold Coast. So I can't see things going too much differently for the Titans at Amy Park in Melbourne, apart from the fact that they probably won't get a lead at all. So I'm going to go Storm by 18. I think the Storm just way too good, and they retain their spot in first position. Obviously, the Raiders taking on the Sea Eagles. This is a battle for the top 4. I'm going to pick the Raiders here. Does this push them into the top 4? Yeah, it does. It's going to be a big few weeks for the Raiders. They verse a lot of top 4 contender teams, so I think they'll win this one by 4 points. I think it'll be a tight margin, but Raiders once again find themselves in the top 4 there. Manly dropping out. Such a tight battle. Moving on to round 24. Another Bulldogs game to start off the round. Cowboys and the Bulldogs. Not a very important game. I think the Cowboys will win. It's up in Townsville. I think they'll get the job done. However, Bulldogs have already beat the Cowboys once this year. It could happen. Just probably not likely. So I'll go Cowboys by 12. We have the Warriors and the Rabbitohs. This is a game I think that the Warriors can definitely win. I've got them in at 13th spot, but it's at home. Rabbitohs have been so inconsistent towards the back end of the season, but I'm going to go the Rabbitohs here. I think they'll get the job done. I think it'll be a close one. I'll go by 2 points. I think the Warriors will definitely be with them. The Broncos and the Eels here. This is another tough one. A lot of tough games towards the back end of the season. NRL's so hard to predict because it's so inconsistent, a lot of the teams. Apart from your Storm and Roosters, anything can really happen. The Broncos playing at home against the Eels. I'm going to go the Eels. I think the Eels just be a little bit too good. Blake Ferguson hopefully back for them by this point. I'll go by 8 points though. So, Eels into 4th spot. Okay, that's interesting. The Knights up against the Titans. I think the Knights will win this one. Should win this one anyways. Pretty easy there. Titans not having a good run home here. I don't think I've picked them to win a game at all yet, but I'm going to go the Knights by 8. And the Knights actually move into 8th spot. Okay, this is very interesting. A lot of changes happening here in this round so far. So, Manly up against the Storm. It's at Brookvale. I think I'm going to have to go Manly here. I can't believe I'm doing this. Yep, I'm going Manly. I think they've already beat the Storm this year once. It's at Brookvale. Manly, I feel like this is the sort of game they'll be right up for. Those tough grinding games. I think they'll do this. I think they'll win by 4 points. So they move back up in a 4th spot. That's very interesting. Roosters and the Panthers. I think Roosters win this one easy. I think they win quite comfortably. Panthers just not very good this year. I think they win by 12. Sharks and Raiders. You see Raiders down in the 6th spot. I'm going to go the Raiders. I think they'll be good enough. As long as Hodgson's playing half decent, they should beat the Sharks. I'll go them by 12. Yep, that'll do. And the last game of the round, we have the Dragons up against the Tigers. I'm going to go Dragons for this one. I think the Dragons will beat the Tigers here. I know ladder-wise, Tigers should win, but I feel like the Dragons sort of team to really worry the Tigers. So I'm going to go Dragons here. And they move into 13th too. I'm going to go Dragons by 8. So what does that do for the ladder here? You see Raiders back in the top 4. It's funny that Parramatta, I had them in the top 4 very briefly. And then Manly jumped in there, and then the Raiders jumped in there. But the rest of the 8, Knights in the top 8. Knights in the top 8. Okay, that's interesting. At one point, we had the Broncos in there. They've fallen off. Tigers have fallen off a bit. Cowboys making a late charge there too. That's very, very interesting. But yeah, let's move on to round 25. So on to the last round, round 25 here. We have the Rabbitohs and the Roosters. That is a really, really big game. I think the Roosters will win this one. Wouldn't be surprised if they rested a lot of players. I think top 4 is secure at this point. I'll go the Roosters by 4. I think it'll be a tight one. Moving on to the Eels and the Sea Eagles. Who's going to win this one? I think Manly will win this one. I like Manly. I rate Manly a lot this year. I'll go them by 4. It is at Bankwest. Very tempted to take the Eels, but I think the Sea Eagles are the type of team who can beat the Eels at Bankwest. On to the next game. Storm and the Cowboys. First up against 10th. Cowboys making that late run. Will the Storm rest a lot of players? I'd say they probably will, and I think the Cowboys might get them here. Oh shit, Cowboys in the 8. Okay. Don't know about that. I mean, surely I'm going to get some wrong at some point here. I'll go Cowboys by 4. I think it'll be a tight game, but I just think, I feel like the Storm will be the type of team to rest a lot of players. Actually, for that reason, I might go to the Rabbitohs. I think Rabbitohs will go full strength here, and Roosters will rest players too at this point. Raiders up against the Warriors. This is a big game. I think the Raiders will come out all fired up and they will win. I think they'll win well. 12 points, that seems about right. Bulldogs up against the Broncos here. I'm going to go the Bulldogs here. It's at ANZ. Broncos, I don't think they're that good. And I'm going to go the Bulldogs by 8 points. I don't think they'll score a lot of points, but I think they'll win by 8. Now, onto the Titans and the Dragons. Very interesting one. They've already played in my predictions. I picked the Dragons last time. I'm going to pick them again. So I've essentially picked the Titans to not win another game this year, which I think is quite realistic, to be honest. I think even Titans fans will agree with me there. We're going to go the Dragons by 12, and they move into 12th spot. Let's go Tigers and the Sharks. This is a really big match in terms of the top 8. Sharks, I feel like the fact that they're in the 8, there's not like there will be pressure on them, but I feel like there'll be less pressure, and I think the Sharks might do it. Tigers don't seem to handle the pressure too well, like towards the back end of the year. So I think for Tigers fans, unfortunately, I see you missing out on the 8 at this point. So I'll go the Sharks by 8 here. Onto the last game of the regular season. We have the Panthers up against the Knights. This is a tough one. Both are quite similar in my eyes. I think Knights have got the better individual talent, but Panthers have a pretty good bunch of youngsters, but once again, they're both so inconsistent. So who do I go with? I don't know. I feel like it's a big match. I think a guy like Clemmer, Ponga, I think they'll step up and get the job done. Does this move the Knights into the top 8? Let's see. Yes, it does. Does the margin change anything? No, the margin doesn't change anything at all there. So I'll go Knights. I'll go Knights by 12. I think once they get a lead, they'll kind of run away with it. But yeah, that's it. Let's see what our final table is. We can do the finals as well here, but Storm, Minor Premiers by heaps. Roosters, Rabbitohs, and the Raiders round out the top 4. Manly just missing out, as do the Eels. Then we have Sharks and Knights rounding out the top 8. Cowboys just missing out on for and against. Tigers miss out by 2 points. Broncos in amongst it. But apart from that, nobody else really threatened there. I think Broncos briefly were in the top 8 actually. But yeah, the rest of them, like I have the Panthers dropping down quite a lot. I think they started this at 9th. Poor old Titans. Not a good end to the season. And funnily enough, the Warriors, I have them having a shit end to the season. They were in amongst the top 8 contendership as well. So yeah, things are not looking good for the Warriors according to me, according to my predictions. But let's move on to the finals. Let's see my predictions for the finals. I may as well continue. So here's all the matchups for the first week of the finals. We have the Storm and the Raiders first up. I think the Storm will get the job done and they'll get that week off. We then have Seagulls taking on the Knights. I think Manly will win that one. That is an elimination game, I believe. Then we have Eels and Sharks, also another elimination game. I'm going to go the Eels. Oh, actually, I'm going to go... Oh, geez, who do I want to go with? I might go the Sharks. I feel like the Sharks will be the type of team, kind of like the Bulldogs 2 years ago. Like, once they get into that finals mode, like, they turn on to, like, a different sort of side. I feel like the Sharks, with Paul Gallons last year and Fafita and stuff, I feel like they'll have to play step up and get through that first round. Eels, a lot of inexperience there. Like, they have experience, just not in finals. And then we have Roosters up against Rabbitohs. I think the Roosters will win this one. So there we have it. Storm, Seagulls, Sharks, and the Roosters getting the wins there. Raiders and Rabbitohs getting the second chance. So that's finals week 1 done. Moving on to finals week 2. Only the 2 games here because teams have been eliminated. Raiders up against Manly. I think this is going to be a huge game. Raiders in previous seasons haven't handled the pressure well. In fact, they missed the 8 because they were losing games by 1 or 2 points. A lot different team this year, but not a lot of final experience. Seagulls as well don't have a lot of final experience, but Des Hasler, such a good coach. So it's really Des Hasler up against the Raiders here. Do I think Des Hasler can coach him? I feel like just because it's in Canberra, I'm going to go the Raiders here. I feel like it's a great effort for both these sides to get as far as they have. That's a great season for both of them. If you started the season and said that both those sides were getting into week 2 of the finals, I think they'd be pretty happy. Now moving on to Rabbitohs and Sharks. I think the Rabbitohs will win this one. I think that's a pretty easy one. Sharks, okay. At their best, they're very good, but they don't hit their best very often. And Rabbitohs, I think they have a bit too much for them. Master Coach Bennett, I think he'll get the job done. So moving on to Finals Week 3, Grand Final qualifiers. We have the Storm up against the Rabbitohs. We have the Roosters up against the Raiders. So this is all the top 4 sides there. I suppose I've been tipping them, so it makes sense. But Storm up against the Rabbitohs. I think the Storm will get this one done. I think the Storm are guarantees for the grand final. I also think the Roosters are guarantees for the final as well at this point. I know it's hard to say guarantees for anyone. I'll say definitely the Roosters for sure. I think they'll 100% be in the grand final. And I think Storm are very, very likely as well. But there we have it. A repeat of 2018. That's my prediction. Who do I think will win the grand final though? I mean, I thought Storm would win last year, and that was with Billy Slater. Cooper Cronk was injured. Are they a better side this year? I don't know. I don't think they are a better side, to be honest. Are the Roosters a better side though? I'm not sure. I feel like when push comes to shove, pressure's on, I think the Roosters will get the job done. They're just too good. They are really, really good. There you go. These 2019 premiers according to my ladder predictions, Sydney Roosters. So guys, those are my predictions. I'd love to see what you guys predict. Go onto the NRL ladder predictor, pop in your results, and leave in the comment section below who are your premiers for 2019. Righto guys, that is where I'm going to end the video. If you did happen to enjoy it, make sure you go ahead and smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Also make sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. It's on the screen right now. It's MrLuke and YT. Also go ahead and add me on Snapchat while you're at it. It's the exact same as what's on the screen already, MrLuke and YT. My Facebook is also in the description below, or to search up MrLuke, it should come up. Been posting on there quite a bit more. Anyway guys, 2019 ladder prediction done. Hopefully you did enjoy it. Hopefully I don't get too many wrong. I'll see you for the next video. Bye guys.